I'm Elisa Mortensen, and this is Undo Redo.
Hello, hello. My son is video gaming downstairs. So if you hear some hooting and hollering going on in the background, that's what it is. I'm so grateful to anyone and everyone who has ever reached out to me and said, you said something that made a difference, because I'm becoming an expert in how to lead people, how to connect with people. And this is so important. And it's such a passion of mine. I've become such a nerd, really. And I want to share with you everything I find, everything that actually works. Because a lot of what people do out there, a lot of the way they're setting boundaries, a lot of the way they're saying things to people, and it's not actually accurate, or it doesn't work. It pushes people away or it deletes people from your life. I want to show you everything that's accurate and that works. Who's excited for spring and summer? I totally am. I know my youngest, the one that's hollering in the background, is graduating this year. And people are talking about being empty nesters, but it looks different in our house because I have my special needs sister, Jenny, who lives with us sometimes and will eventually live with us full time. So we're not exactly empty. Maybe we'll be partially empty sometimes. But a photo memory popped up on my phone the other day, and it was a picture of Jenny and I in a go-kart. It was springtime years ago, and we were at my late brother's twins' birthday party at one of those fun centers with arcades and mini golf, laser tag, go-karts, all of it. It was a fun family party with some other friends and some other family members. Seeing this photo reminded me of how fun that day was. My sister will never be able to drive, but I knew she could give it a try in that kind of safe environment. We had it pretty much to ourselves. There weren't a lot of extra people there, so I came up with this clever idea. Our mom was there, so I knew I could get her on board with my idea. Let's test Jenny's skills on an arcade racing game, the driving arcade game first, and then we'll take her to the go-karts. This will be like driver's ed, and that will be like the road test, and we'll see what happens. I'll be there with her. I'll sit by her. I'll do it. It was just fun. She was loving the opportunity to do like all the other kids were doing. And I'm really glad I had this idea. How sad is it that she won't be able to ever drive? She still has to be the passenger, even in this environment created for even little kids to drive, right? And so let's give her a chance. And I'm really glad that I did that. What could happen next? Whatever I make happen next, within reason. My mom was hesitant, but she let me go. She was unsure, but she allowed me. And you can imagine, we rammed into everything. I did help her steer a bit. I did. And the teenage employees, they looked at each other like, what do you do? She's definitely special needs. You say something, no, you say something. They just kind of let her ram things. We went straight on parts we were supposed to turn. We turned on parts we were definitely supposed to go straight. She had her hands on the steering wheel, but she was having so much fun. She was looking at me while she was driving, and she'd just ram things. And I prompted her ahead of time, okay, now turn this way. And I'd grab the steering wheel and I'd kind of turn. Because of not knowing how to approach a grown woman with special needs, we weren't kicked out or anything like that. My feet were controlling the speed, of course. Nobody was going to get seriously hurt. It was all under a safe environment. And it was gentle. We were being passed by family because we were going so slow. And I mean, it was my harebrained idea, right? It was indeed one of the very best days of my life. There was some minor whiplash for a few days after this, but how many stories we have together. I could tell you all the things that we have done together and that I have done with her. And if we can't laugh and play, then we take things way too seriously and we're off put and our guards are up. So we just play. So let's talk about stress. I want to talk about the high stakes kind of stress. Like you just found out that your teen skips classes and has been all year. Well, that's not a thing anymore. That's a thing when I was young. Like the report card would come out and you'd see your absences. Now you get them real time, right? But if your kid's skipping class, if you find out that someone has lied to you, or when you ask your kid about skipping class and they lied to you, it's the teacher's mistake. It wasn't me, right? What about if you have a memory impaired parent? I'm coaching a lot of people with the Alzheimer's and dementia parents. What if they wandered outside again? That's a high stake kind of stress, right? Your partner's blowing up your phone midday in the middle of one of your important phone calls or meetings. That's high stress because you know you need to be there for your partner, but you also know you need to be there in your meeting. Your boss moved a deadline up again. Your employee has been less productive lately and keeps costing you clients and customers and making excuses for it. There are times when we just really feel the heat. We feel this surge inside of our bodies and this internal voice yelling, do something now. Like you feel desperate and manic to do something. But unless somebody's bleeding or dying, that urgency that you feel isn't an emergency, and you don't really have to answer it with something as intense. We have to stop letting intensity of what we feel in our body, because of the intensity of our thoughts, convince us to do something that has to be handled immediately. Because the pressure that you're feeling to do something immediately, that's in your chest, in your head, and it feels so urgent, you're not ready to do something in that moment that it happens. You're ready later when you've had a pause and a breath and when you feel aligned and more connected with what you truly want to do, with a little more intention and mindfulness behind it. So the right moment to respond is when the urgency fades and you can feel like yourself again. You can feel reconnected to who you are, to your values, your purpose, your truth, and let that inside storm that's happening just pass. Our brains are really fast though, right? They're not always accurate. It's trying to convince you of something. Let's say your kid slams the door and your mind goes, no, they don't, not in my house, or don't disrespect me, or they're going to fail at life. I've failed as a parent. The facts are the door slammed. The thoughts are catastrophe, and it happens in seconds. It's just so fast. Your brain fills in the blanks with worst case scenarios. And that's why slowing down matters in these moments, because the thoughts you have aren't facts. They're just a story you're making up about it because we're catastrophizing. We can choose to believe them or not in that moment. There is a cost to reacting from that urgency and from that survival. Even if you don't say it out loud, there's a cost because your body goes through that kind of a heightened survival mode, even when we're just thinking about it. So when you're stuck in stress mode, everything feels like an attack. There isn't anything that comes across your day that won't feel like it's directly coming at you. So we could numb ourselves on food, scrolling, binge watching some things. I know we've talked about this in a lot of my podcasts, but a lot of us every single day are like, I'm still scrolling. Why do I do this? I still numb out. I still haven't faced the things I need to face. We shove our needs down with food and then we explode later. We can't be intentional from survival mode, right? We won't be solving problems well from that urgency and survival. We won't be listening deeply or seeing clearly. That kind of tunnel vision isn't our wisdom. That's just our wiring. That's our reactions. And we all know we should respond, not react. And when you're aligned again, when the urgency has settled, you only really have 3 healthy long-term solutions. And I want to talk about those. When you're aligned again and the urgency has settled, you only have 3 healthy long-term options. Everything else is just short-term and won't last. And it doesn't really get rid of the problem. The first thing you can do is change it. You can have a connected conversation, find a coach to strategize with, make a new plan for yourself, make some decisions. You can accept it, just breathe, know that there's nothing you can do about it, surrender to it, not enjoy it. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it. Just stop fighting with it, or you can leave it, which is just like end the pattern, walk away, step away. Every other option is a trick. Passive aggressive, silent treatments, avoidance. Avoidance is masked as I'm being patient, but then you go spin in your head, right? And end up with resentment. Taking on everything or blaming someone is short term. The short term relief brings long-term damage. You could lecture your teen, right? He or she slams the door. You're still mad. You could lecture them for an hour. It doesn't change anything. You could write a furious email. It doesn't change anything. You can't unsend a furious text or email. You could say yes when you wanted to scream no, and that's going against yourself, Welcome to being human. You only have 3 options. You can change it, accept it, or leave it. That's it. You can tell yourself whatever you want, but seriously, awareness around what we're doing, it isn't shameful. It's powerful. When you wait until you're feeling more aligned and more connected, you tell someone you need a minute, or can we revisit this later? Yes, you'll automatically say less. You'll regret less. You'll be open instead of shutting down. Alignment isn't perfection. Like when someone says, I'd like to be more aligned, that doesn't mean I'd like to be more perfect. Alignment is being okay with where everything's at right now. Maybe you've taken a little while and you notice, I'm still not ready yet. I still can't revisit that. I'm not going to say anything good. I don't feel urgent. I'm just not connected with it. Just wait. You can breathe. You can connect with a higher power. You can choose something on purpose. That's a real power. Real power is managing yourself in those moments and not giving into something. And when you feel inside that you are not ready, that's a clue. It's not a failure. It's an invitation to heal something, because your pain matters, and however long it hangs on is fine. So you move with it and you work with it, not against it. When we're guided by emotion rather than paralyzed by it, there's this whole space we've created to grow. And your next step that you take comes from connection, not panic. Freedom lives in creating a big space for yourself to make a ton of mistakes. The past is done, even if it's been 2 seconds, that did just happen. And the future hasn't happened yet. So your power always lies in what happens next. You don't have to act on every emotion that you have. You don't have to respond when you're not ready. And you definitely don't have to let that urgency override the alignment of who you truly are. If no one's bleeding or dying, then you have time. You can wait. You can wait for the urgency to pass, and you can do what feels connected.
I love you all, and as always, if you thought of someone while we were listening to this, please share it with them, because that's our part of helping heaven reach others. It takes us a lot of times. Most times, prayers are answered through us. So go do that. And if you need to hop on a chat with me to find out what this looks like in your situation, go ahead and reach out to me at connect.elisamortensen.com and grab a spot to have a consultation with me, and we will plan out your next best move and strategize. All right, thanks a bunch. Bye.